We dove into the bicycle and pedestrian crashes last year, and so far this year from the Maine DOT, there have been almost 200 bicycle and pedestrian crashes so far this year compared to about 450 in all of last year. Now, when it comes to deadly crashes involving bicycles and pedestrians, there were 20 of those crashes last year, 6 so far this year. We wanted to know more about this alarming trend, and Amanda has that.
Thanks, Lee. So we are joined by Jim Tassi, Bicycle Coalition of Maine. Thanks for joining us.
It's great to be here.
Let's start with some of those numbers. 2016, a particularly rough year for cyclists. What we're seeing is 4 deaths, more than 200 crashes. What can you attribute those numbers to?
Well, 20 crashes is bad. 4 bicycle crashes represents or 4 fatals represents a spike that's matched only by 2013. It's difficult to attribute it to any particular cause. I mean, distracted driving comes up, bad luck is something. I mean, it's difficult to say why one year is worse than another. Certainly there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that distracted driving is the biggest contributor to upticks in pedestrian and bicycle crashes, which is a problem nationally, not just in Maine.
As a cyclist, I mean, distracted driving, and even drunk driving, that's not really something you can really protect yourself from. Is that scary?
It is scary, and there are things that people can do to improve their situation out on the road. Certainly being visible when you're riding a bicycle or walking is extremely important. If you're going to be out after dark, wearing reflective material and lights can make a huge difference in how visible you are. Although the vast majority of crashes happen in daylight, some of the most significant and serious crashes happen after dark. So if you're hit after dark, it's often a bad one. So wearing lights, wearing reflective stuff protects you if you're walking or bicycling. Under Maine state law, if you're bicycling after dark, you're supposed to have a light on the front of your bicycle and a reflector on the back, as well as reflectors down by your feet. And we always recommend that bicycles and pedestrians follow the rules of the road. I mean, so for bicycles, that means always ride with traffic on the right side of the road. It means stopping at stoplights and stop signs. It means signaling your intentions and being predictable. And for pedestrians, it means using sidewalks if they're available. You should walk facing traffic if there's no sidewalk available. And statistically, you're far safer crossing in a signalized intersection than any other location. A lot of pedestrians don't know that if you're crossing anywhere other than a marked crosswalk, it's actually the obligation of the pedestrian to yield to motor vehicle traffic and wait for a safe place to cross.
You just kind of touched on one of the questions that we get all the time is, do cyclists have to obey the same rules of the road as motorists?
More or less, yes. So certainly when they're operating in the roadway, they should be driving with traffic. And we say driving, when we teach the kids, we talk about being a safe bike driver, because we want to emphasize that it's really got the same rights and responsibilities as the operator of a vehicle. So you ride with traffic, you obey stoplights and stop signs, you should be predictable, you should signal your intentions, and that's really as simple as simply pointing to where it is you want to go in many cases. The flip side, of course, is that drivers don't know how much bicycles are entitled under Maine law to use roads, and so often we hear people, or hear stories of people being told, get the heck out of the way. Mm-hmm. And often that is reflecting an ignorance on the part of drivers too. So there's blame to go around in these situations. Sure. For drivers, we like to tell them, if you encounter a bicycle on the road, think about what you do if you were to encounter a tractor. You slow down, you wait for a safe place to pass, and then you pass.
Great way to look at it. Jim Tassi, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.